All right, I'm going to go over each of the problems on this review for Unit 2. So please make sure that you're following along and that you're grading your own, and then any of them you get wrong, go ahead and correct it along with me. So I'll show you the work that needs to be done to solve it, so you can just be working it with us. All right, so number 1, the answer is 378 thousandths. And so I'm going to show you how to actually solve it. So if you got that one wrong, go ahead and get your colored pen and write along with us. So I'm going to set it up just like a normal multiplication problem. Remember, I do not have to line up the decimals. You are more than welcome to, and in this one they do line up, but remember when we're multiplying decimals, we don't have to line them up, okay? All right, so 5 times 2 is 10. Carry my 1. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 1 is 26. Okay, 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. All right, so we've got our first row done. You can cross out your 5 and your little carry numbers if you want to, and then you always add a 0 down in that ones place. Or for us, it's not the ones place, but down that place value. So the next one is a 1, so that's pretty easy to multiply it by. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, and then I'm going to add up all my numbers. 0 plus 0 is 0. 6 plus 2 is 8. 2 plus 5 is 7. 1 plus 1 is 3. All right, now here's what's important. If I had 2 numbers behind my decimal in this number and 2 numbers behind my decimal in this number, I'm going to add that together. So 2 plus 2 is 4. So I need to have 4 spaces behind my decimal. So I'm going to take my number that I got as my answer. We go 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is where my decimal goes, right in front of the 3. And the reason I didn't include my 0 at the end is because we don't really need it. You can have it if you want to. Doesn't hurt to have it, but it doesn't actually mean anything if it's after the decimal. Okay, moving on to number 2. Same thing here. I'm going to tell you what the answer is so that if you got it wrong, you can solve it along with me. So the answer is 84 and 315 thousandths. So to solve this one, I'm going to line it up just like any multiplication problem. And again, I don't have to line up the decimals. And in this time, that does make a difference. If you want to line up the decimals, you just have to add a 0, and that kind of adds another step for you. But if that makes you happy, you do it. Okay, so 5 times 9 is 45. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 4 is 4. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Okay, so there's our first line. You can cross out your 5 and your little carried numbers if you want, and then add a 0 right here. 3 times 9 is 27. 3 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Okay, then I'm going to add up my numbers. 5 plus 0 is 5. 4 plus 7 is 11. And then I'm going to carry my 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, then 2 plus 2 is 4. 7 plus 1 is 8. All right, now let's count decimals. If I had 2 numbers behind the decimal right here and 1 decimal behind the or 1 number behind the decimal right here, I'm going to add that together, and I get 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and that's how I knew where to put my decimal. Okay, so 84 and 315 thousandths. Moving on. Anna bought a van that holds 10 1/4 gallons of gas, and she gets an average of 9 2/10 miles per gallon. So miles per gallon is going to be important. How many miles can she expect to go on a full tank? Okay, so if she gets 9 2/10 miles per gallon, I'm actually going to multiply. So I know that word per can often mean division, but it depends on what we're looking for. So she has this many gallons of gas in her tank, and she gets this many for every one of those gallons. So we're actually going to multiply. So I'm going to have 10 1/4 times 9 2/10. Now it's up to you. If you really like multiplying by fractions, I would change that to 9 2/10 as a mixed number and then multiply that way. But I am a decimals kind of person, so I'm going to change this right here into a decimal. So I know from memory that 1/4 equals 25 hundredths, but if you didn't know that, you could just divide 1 divided by 4 and solve it that way. So I know this is actually 10 and 25 hundredths. So again, the answer for this one is going to be 94 and 3/10 miles. If you got it right, fantastic, great. But if not, let's go ahead and solve it together. So now I have 10 and 25 hundredths times 9 and 2/10. Okay, 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, you can cross out your 2 and your carried numbers, and then add a 0. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 2 is 18 plus 4, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay, 9 times 0 is 0 plus 2 is 2. 9 times 1 is 9. Now I'm just going to add it all up. 0 plus 0 is 0. 5 plus 5 is 10. 1 plus 2 is 3. 2 plus 2 is 4. And 9 plus nothing is 9. Okay, now let's count decimals. I had 2 numbers behind the decimal right here. 1 number behind the decimal right here. Add that together, I get 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So that's where I got 94 and 3/10. Of course, if you really want to, you can add your zeros at the end, but they don't mean anything anymore. So that is my answer. Moving on to page 2. Here we have dividing decimals. So if you wanted to, you could have practiced using the examples, but these aren't an actual question that you had to solve. If you did, great. So it was just kind of reminding you what the steps were. Just if there's no decimal in my divisor, that's great. All I have to do is pop up my decimal right here and divide like normal. But if I do have a decimal in my divisor, I can move my decimal as many places as I want to turn it into a whole number, as long as I do the same thing in my dividend. Okay, so if I move my decimal one place so that it becomes 5 with a decimal at the end, now it's just 5. All right, but since I moved my decimal over here in my 4, I have to fill it in with a 0, so it becomes that. All right, and my answer is just 8. All right, over here this time, same thing. I want that to be a whole number, so I'd move my decimal one place to the right so that I get a whole number 5, but I have to do the same thing right here, so it becomes 12 and 5/10. Then once you do that, you can just pop the decimal up and divide like normal, just like right here. That's my answer. All right, over there, I just pop the decimal up and divide. Okay, so let's actually try it out. So let's set this one up in the box. Oh, I guess so. Okay, so let me just tell you the answer real quick so that you can decide if you need to watch this part or not. So the answer is actually just 3, okay? And let me show you how to set it up. So if it's 3 and 96 hundredths divided by 1 and 32 hundredths, that means that my first number is going to go inside the house, okay? And 1 and 32 hundredths goes outside. All right, so I want this to be a whole number. So 1, 2. I have to do the same thing right here. Okay, so this becomes 132, and this becomes 396. Okay, and then you could try some stuff out to see how many times it goes in, but I can just tell you right now that 132 times 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9. Oopsie, hold on. Is 9, and 3 times 3 is 1. So that's it goes in evenly 3 times. So that's my answer. Okay, over here, inside my box, I'm going to put my first number, 16 and 38 hundredths, and then 3 goes outside. This time I did not need to move a decimal anywhere. I just had to pop up my decimal and divide. I'm going to rewrite this so that I'm not writing all over my question. Okay. And then if you want to watch how to solve it, great, but the answer is 5 and 46 hundredths. So if you've got that, then you already understand how to do it. If not, you need to watch so that you can do it on your own on a test. 3 goes into 16 5 times. 3 times 5 is 15. I'm going to subtract and get 1. Bring down my 3. 3 goes into 13 4 times. Pop up my decimal so don't forget. And 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract that, I get 1. Bring down my 8. 3 goes into 18 6 times. And there's nothing left over because 3 times 6 is 18. Okay, so that's how I got 5 and 46 hundredths. All right, last one. I'm going to erase this so I have some room. A member of the school track team ran for a total of 169 and 65 hundredths miles in practice over 6.5 days. How many miles did he average per day. So now we're thinking we have a total. This is the total right here. And we know we know that there were that many days. So we're trying to figure out how many are in each day. So that's actually a division problem. So that's 169 and 65 hundredths divided by 6.5. So to set that up, my first number goes inside the house. And my second number goes outside. I'm going to have to move that decimal because I do not want to divide by a decimal. So it becomes 65 out here. 100, or actually it becomes, my decimal's right here now. So that's 1,696 and 5/10. All right, and then you're just going to pop up your decimal and divide. And the answer that we end up getting is 21 and 100. So that's how far that person averaged per day. That is a lot of running. That's a marathon runner right there. That sounds horrible. All right, so they ran that long every single day. All right, I'm going to do the second 2 pages in another video, so you can find the link down below the first link.